In the story Star Witness, one of the first things Christ told him was that the original Ethiopian Bible, known as the original tongues, was not in the Old and New Testament format. Therefore, stories that you thought happened in the past will actually happen in the near future. For example, Exodus, which started in 1619 with the transatlantic slave trade, which was done by black kings of Europe. And if you don't know, now you know. Because Charles, also known as King Charles, ruled in 1660. Therefore, that is over 41 years since the transatlantic slave trade started in 1619. And if he was black, that means his grandfather, his father, they were also black. So let's watch. Notice,
King Charles II,
1660.
Britain's last black king. King Charles II, Britain's last black king. Charles II reigned over England, Scotland and Ireland from 1660 to 1685. This presentation is a commentary analysis of highlighted descriptive quotes in the book of topic, A Misjudged Monarch, Charles Stuart, written by H.M. Imbert Terry in the year 1917. This book describes in detail the physical appearance of the then King Charles II. King Charles II, also known as King Charles Stuart, and known by many as the Black Boy. His appearance described as a tall black man. This book in topic is another example among numerous amounts of books describing the physical appearance and complexion of the then King Charles II in detail. His appearance is described in various pages in this book. Page 10, Charles, his character and his critics. Quote, "It is a favourite phrase among certain biographers of Charles to attribute his immoral propensities to a somewhat distant Provençal strain in his blood. Inherited through his maternal grandfather and indicated by the dark appearance and swarthy complexion, which formed one of his most noticeable features. As we can clearly hear and see, King Charles II was indeed a black man, dark appearance."
And he was king in 1660. Therefore, the slave trade started 41 years before him. Hence, his grandparents, the ones before him, they were all black. Why? Because the monarchy started since ancient Egypt. So it went from Egypt to Greece to Rome.
Well, yes, that was
more proof of more blacks within the English
Queen
monarchy.
Charlotte as well.
a bit of damage control by the system, because people will start to realise that King James was a black man, and there are you go back in the past of British history, and you'll find that some of the really old kings and queens were also black people. There's a statue of Queen Edith, and I can't remember how long ago that was, but Queen Edith, and she looks like my niece. I have to send it to her because there's a little
Your statue.
So there's a kind of awakening to this idea that this was a black country originally.
Yeah.
Whom was part of slavery. Hello.
Mackey, published in 1733, John Mackey describes his observations of the people in the courts and how they looked. They are described as black in complexion, or a black man a total of 29 times in this book. 3 people described as dark in complexion, and 20 people described as brown in complexion or brown man. These were noblemen in the British courts, whom nearly all of them were described as black, and some described as brown. I want you to pay attention and also keep in mind that this was the same time period when black people at the other side of the world were in slavery. So let's examine this book and see what John Mackey saw.
Hello. So what did Haile Jehovah say about that? The basis of racial discrimination and colonialism has been economic, and it is with economic weapons that these evils have been and can be overcome. In other words, it's always been a money thing. So they went out their way to hide their past by just repainting pictures. So as you notice, Negroes arrived in Jamestown in 1619, and Jamestown was named after the king, King James. Hence Acts 7:6, and God spake on to the wise, that his seed shall sojourn in a strange land, and that they shall be bring them in bondage, and entreat them evil for 400 years. But in reality, it's 430 years. Therefore, it's not going to end till 2049. But in the meantime, know this.
Spotlight. Now get this. Historians to this day believe that descendants still live in Britain right now, carrying the royal bloodline that the crown pretends doesn't exist. So, for decades, portraits were repainted, records were quietly edited, and family trees were rewritten. This wasn't some accident, this was some calculated cleanup. You know, the monarchy needed a clean, white, controlled image, so they
try to erase
what
this.
if I told you that the royal family's biggest ever secret isn't in the tabloids or the history books, it's hidden in the portraits. A bloodline that they erased, faces that they literally repainted, and a version of history that they flipped right under our noses. This isn't a myth, it's real, and it's documented history. Check this out. Now, for this, we're going to have to rewind all the way to the 1700s. King George III, the Mad King who lost the American colonies. He was married to a woman called Queen Charlotte. And what most people didn't realise is that Charlotte had documented Moorish and North African ancestry through Portugal.
Hello. Wake up. Follow Jah, not man.